Dear friend, dear fellow patriot, dear fellow American, welcome back to this thing of ours. What a wonderful day today. Thank you so much for being a part of us. Thank you always for your support. Thank you. Let me just say again, because we oftentimes forget how important you are, how critical it is that you are to our endeavor, to our efforts, how much we appreciate you, and how important you are. I'm going to be talking about tonight, whenever you're watching this, an individual by the name of Rosie O'Donnell and why she is so important to us. Why? But before we begin this, let me just say something right now. My dear friends, my patriots, my brothers, my sisters, in truth, hear me clearly. When disaster hits, when you are on your own, no FEMA, no politicians, no nothing, no bureaucrats, no CPAC, no Republicans, no Democrats, nobody is there to help you. We've seen it before with Katrina, East Palestine, California wildfires, LA, Maui. Promises made, nothing delivered. That's why I trust and you should trust My Patriot Supply. And right now, a deal of deals at preparewithlionel.com. Their 3-month emergency food kit gives you over 2,000 calories a day, 22 meal varieties, lasts up to 25 years, and right now you get 4 extra weeks, a month free, a $247 value. Right now, do it. I don't know. We always say, we don't know how long these deals are going to last, which we don't. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I know. Now's the time. If you've ever thought about it, now's the time to act. Preparewithlionel.com. 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 Protect your family. Secure your future. Be ready, not desperate. Preparewithlionel.com. And there's a link that is provided for you. Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell. Why is Rosie O'Donnell even of any importance? She is the classic, the prototypical heel. To use professional wrestling parlance, she is perfect. Rosie O'Donnell is one of those rare figures in American pop culture that we love to hate. She unites people, not in admiration, but in irritation, in deplorable disgust. She is without a doubt the most horrid individual. You know, for decades she's been simultaneously craved and despised and tolerated and mocked and relevant, yet insufferable. And the strangest paradox of all is that Rosie hates being liked. She can't stand it. She never has been liked. She was liked for a moment when she was a part of this kind of the nice Rosie. You know, she always refers to herself as star of the Flintstones. This was 1994. Over 30 years. And when she's despised, she comes alive. And when she's despised about Trump, and when she despises Trump, she comes alive. To understand Rosie is to understand the pathology of someone who feeds off rejection and fuels herself with the very contempt that she generates. Oh, most complicated. Let's start with why America loves to hate her. Rosie exploded in the 90s as the queen of nice. Remember that? She had a talk show that was built on playful banter, Broadway songs, crushes on Tom Cruise, and that goofy persona of being everyone's favorite neighbor, kind of big sis, weird cousin. Middle America tuned in. Kids loved her cush balls. Moms loved her guest lineup. She was fun. She was safe. She was family friendly. And then she wasn't. Rosie shed the Queen of Nice mask as if it was suffocating her. She turned her show into a soapbox for progressive politics. She lashed out at George W. Bush, the NRA. Remember when she took Tom Selleck to task? That's when it really ended. Catholic priests, eventually Donald Trump, and suddenly the sapphic housewife-friendly Rosie was gone. replaced by this red-faced, bilious, boorish ranter. This transformation didn't just alienate her audience, it energized them against her. The woman who once embodied, think about this, fun and daytime chatter and banter became a symbol of Hollywood elitism, sneering at regular people, sneering, looking at you. You don't understand. Here's the first key: Rosie O'Donnell thrives on being hated. When she was beloved, she was bland. When she was everybody's favorite, she was just nothing. She didn't come along. She's kind of like, in a strange way, Roger Waters. Roger Waters loves to sneer this Anna Kasparian. Gore Vidal loves, especially her. And when they get older, you really see it. You really see it. Why is that important? It goes back to professional wrestling. In everything from politics to TV to regular soft culture, you must have someone to loathe. You must have someone to despise. You must have somebody to absolutely detest. It is critical. Why do you think that is? Why do you think she is? She decided, I'm leaving, I'm moving, I'm getting out of here. Okay, fine. She left and nobody cared. It didn't matter. She knows nobody cares. The other day, she attempted some apology of sorts, but does that make any difference? Not really. That's why she's famously clashed with Trump over the years when he ran for office. Their feud was theater, but true. Ugly, public, personal. Trump called her a loser and a pig. Rosie fired back with insults of her own. I mean, it was something. They both fed off. They both secretly loved each other. And while millions of folks cringed, Rosie was thrilled because for the first time in years, for the first time, the spotlight wasn't on her declining career. It was on her as a political lightning rod. She appreciates it. She wasn't funny. She wasn't charming, but she was loud and boorish and garish, and her loudness is its own form of currency in a culture, in our culture, that's addicted to outrage. But here's where it gets even more twisted. This is where I find it fascinating. Rosie O'Donnell can't stand being liked. I don't think she ever knows. She knows what it's. That's why she never felt comfortable. The moments when she softens, when she opens up about her struggles with depression or health issues or adoption stories or tragedies, people start to sympathize. They see vulnerability between her and the story, beneath the bluster. And instead of leaning into that, she lashes out. Why? Because pity doesn't pay. Hatred does. She's a heel. To use a professional wrestling reference, she's a heel. Being admired means being accountable. Being despised means being free to say whatever you want, however reckless it is. I mean, it's a bizarre psychological cycle. She craves attention. When she gets positive attention, she sabotages it. When she gets negative attention, she amplifies it. America loves to hate her precisely because she makes it so easy. She picks fights. She hurls insults. She makes herself a target. And Rosie hates to be loved because it cages her in the boring role of being agreeable. She doesn't want to be your friend. She wants to be your trigger. She is a tripwire. This is why she's never been able to comment on things without destroying it. This is why she's never been able to cement a long-term comeback. A talk show, sitcoms, even stints on The View, all implode once Rosie gets bored or playing nice. She's one of these people like Joy Behar who also doesn't, they can't just have a different opinion. She's got to hate you. You're wrong. See, the moment a crowd warms up to her, she pushes them away. Think of it as like a toxic relationship. She can't resist poking. She's only happy. Keith Olbermann is kind of like that. Basically, deep down inside, miserable. David Crosby was like that. They love this. And provoking until the warmth of this runs cold. And then she thrives in the conflict. She thrives in the breakup. She thrives in the fallout. She loves this. And yet, here's the thing. Rosie O'Donnell is a necessary figure in American culture. She's the heel. She embodies a certain kind of liberal elite hypocrisy that conservatives love to skewer. She's the perfect foil, the perfect troll, because she's not careful. She doesn't filter herself. She doesn't calculate. She blurts. She blasts. She has diarrhea of the mouth and the brain and the soul. She rages. She insults. She self-destructs. And in that mess, she becomes both, well, maybe for lack of a better word, kind of a cautionary tale and a symbol. And she's the only living caricature of Hollywood and Hollywood arrogance, a woman who can't help but scold and shame the very audiences she once entertained. Why does she hate being liked so much? Why? Why do you think that is? Because when Rosie is liked, she has nothing to fight against. She has no villain. And no Rosie O'Donnell without a villain. And Rosie without a villain is like a boxer without an opponent. She's nothing without somebody else. Other people define who she is. She needs someone to punch at, even if it means shadow boxing. It's so interesting. There are few people like it. Let's also be brutally honest. Rosie is funny only when she's angry. She's unattractive, not just physically, but in her spirit, her way she is. Even the way she has these angles, with her herpetic lesion on her lips, some cold sore. She was never built to be the queen of nice. She was never built to be the queen of anything other than the queen of mean. She shines when she's insulting Trump or ranting about Republicans or tearing into celebrity culture. But the moment she tries to play it safe, the air goes out of the room. Her comedy, or whatever it's called, collapses. And her energy deflates. This is why she doesn't just tolerate being hated. And by the way, the people today who are the comedians are not funny. They're not nice. They're now, from a psychological point of view, this makes perfect sense, because let me tell you something. Rosie has described a lifetime of rejection and trauma and insecurity, and her childhood was marked by her mother's death and her father's dysfunction, and fame gave her validation, and blah blah blah. But it didn't erase the scars. So when people hate her, it feels familiar to her. She likes it. It's a feeling of, this I can handle. The worst thing you can do to her is to agree with her. The worst thing you can do is to agree with her, or to let her feel like you somehow empathize with her. She doesn't know how to handle that. She doesn't. So from a pop culture perspective, she's fascinating, because Rosie reflects why America itself loves to hate. We love to hate. Hating defines who we are. You have to know what you love in order to hate something. We love TDS. We love all these videos of these crazy people, these TDS lunatics, talking about Trump and talking about harming him with the pink hair and the studs and the tattoos. And she leans into it. She's made herself a professional villain, and she knows it. And not because she's evil per se, but because it guarantees she'll never be ignored. She's a brand new sort of. She's like the original heel in wrestling. She's a heel. In a way, Rosie is more honest than the celebrities who pretend to want to be loved while secretly craving controversy. Have you noticed lately how a lot of the the comedians, the Joe Rogan type, they love to talk about how great they are, how funny they are. There's nothing like being with these comedians. You don't know what it's like to be in our presence. You don't know what it's like to bask in our brilliance. You don't know what it's like to be us, to think like us, to be like us, to hang with us. We're special. Not really. She embraces the role of the heel, the foil, the loudmouth, who can tune out even if you want to. She's like the professional wrestler heel for the talk show era. I can't say it enough. And that's why she will always be around. And there's really nobody better than Joy Behar couldn't do what she's doing because Joy Behar is stupid. Rosie's smart. Because as long as there's outrage, there will be Rosie O'Donnell. And we feed her and we create her and we love her. Leading into the storm, demanding your attention, and then snarling at you when you give it to her. We love this. We love to hate her. So why does America also love to hate Rosie? Because she's the perfect fill-in, the foil. She makes it easy. She practically begs for it. Why does she hate being liked? Because she doesn't know how to live in love. She only knows how to live in hate, and that hate, recycled, amplified, and monetized, has become her brand. Look, Rosie O'Donnell is not a star anymore. She's not a comedian in the traditional sense. She is a cultural irritant, a professional outrage machine, a woman who thrives only when she's despised and only when she's despised somebody else. And in that, she's secured her place in American pop culture forever. Not as a beloved icon, but as a hated one. And that for Rosie is exactly how she likes it. This is something which is so interesting. Now, when you try to explain this to people, sometimes people have a hard time grasping this because it's something that they will immediately look at the subject and they don't go beneath the real storyline of how interesting this is. It's interesting to me because of the fact that it goes to show you well, it goes back to my love of wrestling and theater. And what this is performative art. These are people, for the most part, who don't understand politics, never did. Because understanding politics means nothing. Means nothing. Look how people, with this case of Zoran Mamdani, people love to hate him. They hate him with such a passion, and yet his fans love him. Rosie's different. Nobody really likes her. They just want to see her give Trump a hard time. They just want to see her bother Trump. They want to see her act problematic. It's perfect. And the notion of the heel, whenever you talk about the heel, you think of the greatest of all time, the one who created the heel was Gorgeous George Wagner. Gorgeous George, right after World War II, was the inspiration for James Brown, Elton John, Elvis, glam rock, Freddie Mercury, everybody. Muhammad Ali to an extent, the robes. James Brown said it absolutely perfectly. Prince. And what they did was they realized not only did he tap into just the heel, but what you would call homophobia. You tapped into this hatred for him because he was acting what they said gay. He was a sissy. See what I'm saying? Sissy. I thought he was a sissy. And what's interesting about the sissy part of this is that was inconceivable in the realm of a post World War II period where we were absolutely so powerful in what we did. We destroyed Hitler. We took care of him. We destroyed him. He was something that nobody had ever seen before. Hitler was And what's also interesting to note, which is so critical, is that you must grasp the idea that Hitler and these other people supplied not just, Mussolini didn't really do it. Hirohito, well, he was more of the emperor, though that was more of, dare I say, a racist aspect. Hitler was the heel, absolutely despised at levels. So just grasp this notion. Don't be confused. Don't dismiss it. The hardest time I have sometimes is when I talk to people, they really lack the depth to understand. What we're doing is this is a sociological moment of truth. This is something which is critical. This is something which is beyond critical. This is something which is important and critical for people to understand and to grasp when it comes to the idea of how important it is for us to hate, for us to despise. And when it comes to Trump is this, oh God, he has inspired trolling at levels we can't even put into words. He has inspired trolling that is beyond incredible, beyond anything we could ever know or see or grasp, beyond anything. Seriously. And that's why she's important. And that's why President Trump is important. And that's why when he finally leaves, when there's no chance of him ever being elected again, America will cry, will weep. People will swear that they're glad he's gone. But Trump helped them identify their own religion in terms of politics and their own focus by defining what they despised. And you can dismiss this all you want. You can pretend it doesn't exist, but it exists like you can't believe. Now, my friends, let me remind you of a couple of things. First of all, as I said before, I cannot put into words out of all of the products and all of the things that can be sold from, well, I'm not going to go through the list, but I can think of nothing more important than preparing for disaster. I want you to go to preparewithlionel.com and look through what they have. Look at just the notion of generators and backup and all of those things that you need to have just in the event of a weather malfunction, of a weather disaster, of forget Black Hawk helicopters. Just think about what this is. It's something that's that critical, that important. So please, my friends, I ask you to do that. I ask you also to remember to keep your eyes open, your head open, keep your mind open. Think how things really work today. And ask yourself the question, where do we all fit in? How does today's reality work in? So anyway, that also, thank you for your support of Mrs. L with Lynn's Warriors. Thank you for subscribing to her. Thank you. It means so much to us. And thank you so much for always being a part of what we do and for always being a part of this and being this wonderful and glorious contribution to that which we do. I'll be talking to you more. Make sure you always stay subscribed. I may just pop up when you don't know it or expect it. It means a lot to me. All right, my friends, thank you so very much. Have a great and a glorious day. And until we meet again, remember these final words. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. That.